Oye, mi gente, if there's one thing we love doing here at Pero Let Me Tell You, it is celebrating our Cuban culture. And that's why we're happy to tell you that Cuba Nostalgia is back in 2022 for its 23rd year. That's right, Cuba Nostalgia, a celebration of the richness of Cuban culture, history, and tradition is back May 21st and May 22nd at the Miami-Dade County Fairgrounds. Come experience the art and exhibits like recreations of classic Cuban landmarks like El Museo de Bellas Artes and El Tropicana, and of course, you know, there's food and Cuban cocktails. I mean, have you ever known Cubans to have an event without comida y trago? Oh, and we almost forgot, there's also free concerts every day. Así que get your tickets today. Just visit cubanostalgia.org to make sure you don't miss out on Cuba Nostalgia May 21st and 22nd. After all, it's more than an event, it's a Cuban experience.
Hey everyone, this is DJ.
And this is Ish.
And this is Season 5 of Pero Let Me Tell You.
Not actually just towels all the way up to the sky.
Are we recording?
We are.
Oh, la toalla.
Las toallas en el bed bath and beyond.
And linens and things.
Linens and things. This doesn't exist anymore, right?
I don't think so.
Oh.
Welcome everybody. This is episode
203.
Welcome to episode 203. But let me tell you, how is everybody? Happy Friday.
Do you think it was more the fault of the linens or the things?
The linens are the things. Or Bed Bath & Beyond. In Bed Bath & Beyond siempre hay un reguero.
Well, it's the beyond.
It's the Beyond.
You know, I don't expect the beyond to have order.
Right. ¿Cómo se llama? Welcome everybody. How is everybody this week?
I think everybody's doing
Did you like going to those stores when you were a kid?
I did, because they always had like those weird things that didn't exist anywhere else. Mm-hmm. You know, like those, again, the Beyond section. You know, like those things that were like $1 or $2. Like, look, it's a drain stopper, but it's also in the shape of an ostrich. You know, just random ass things where I was like,
what Bed Bath & Beyond were you going to?
You know what I mean. Like, you know.
I didn't.
No, why?
No, because I would always get in trouble.
Oh, okay. That tracks.
Yeah. I mean, I knocked down things.
You're the reason that they didn't actually put towels all the way up on those things.
I was a troubled child. My parents didn't know what to do with me.
You were a troublemaker.
I was. But aren't they happy that by the time puberty hit, it went backwards for me? Like, I became really good.
Yeah, almost Amish.
Right. Because I would say, if your kid is going to be trouble, let it be when they're kids.
Before there's legal implications.
Right. So, you know, if that's the case, we're good with Tristan.
Exactly.
But yeah, every time I went to one of those stores with a lot of trinkets and knickknacks, that didn't end well for me.
Okay, so you enjoyed going.
No, there was nothing enjoyable about it.
Well, but you enjoyed going because you had fun making a mess of shit.
I did.
But then you got in trouble for it.
I did.
So right.
But yeah, like Bed Bath & Beyond like is not doing well financially, and it's like
I think they rebranded or they
they closed the one here in Kendall. So,
oh really?
Yeah. So it's like, where do people go and I don't know.
Where's the Beyond now?
Get their knickknacks.
Where's the Beyond?
Yeah. So
we've gone beyond the Beyond.
Yeah. So anyway, so hi, what a week.
Yes, it's been, you know, fun times for everyone involved, I guess.
Yeah. One of the things actually that departed us this week.
Okay.
It's the end of an era.
I'm gonna let you finish that sentence because it could be many
this
things.
Week, Apple announced that it was discontinuing the iPod.
I didn't know it was still being made.
I did. Let's talk about that for a minute. How do you feel about that?
I didn't even remember it was being made, so clearly I didn't have a strong feeling about it.
The iPod
necessarily.
Touch had been made.
Yeah, right. No, when I saw the iPod Touch, it just makes sense in a weird way. I mean, nowadays, do you really want multiple? Putting all the other stuff aside, do you really want multiple devices in your pocket? Like when we've become so used to having a one-stop shop situation. You know what I mean? Because right now, let's face it, if you have an iPhone, you've got music already in your phone for all intents and purposes. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have an iPhone, like if you have a Samsung, are you really going out and buying an iPod Touch just to have an iPod Touch? You're probably not. You're probably uploading your music
Well,
to your phone.
Droids have music players too.
That's what I mean, right? You're just you're using the music player on your device. So I'm surprised. That's what I'm saying. I'm surprised it was still around.
So I
still have my Nano.
I'm sort of upset about it. I had 3 of them, and I guess now they're going to be collector's
They will
items.
be, absolutely.
In fact, I'm going to see if I can to buy a Touch before they're gone.
When is it officially going off the market?
Until supplies last.
Okay, so it's just we're not making any new
Yeah.
ones. Okay.
I never had the iPod Classic.
No?
No, because my first iPod was when I was in law school, so I couldn't afford the Classic. So that's why I ended up with a
Really?
Mini that's pink. You see my
No,
Mini iPod?
I thought you had
No, I never
Mr.
had the
Music.
Classic. I had the Mini, the first version of the Mini, of the iPod Mini, looked like the iPod Classic, but it was smaller, but it came in colors.
Yes, I remember. That was the
And
the
mine
appeal.
is hot pink.
I remember yours.
Which I hate pink. But when I was a poor law student,
you took what you got.
it was half off in Comp USA, so I'm like, pink it is.
Pink it is. You will learn to love it.
Pink it is, and I still have it, and it works fine. Then I had...
That's true. They just they
I've
work forever.
actually, now think about it, the 3 iPods I have are all minis.
Really?
Yeah, they're all minis. I don't know why. Because then later when I could get the I remember
later when you had money.
I wanted the U2 one.
Oh, the
That
one
was
that came pre
red and black, but that was the iPod Classic. But it was like, I don't know, $300-$400, whatever amount of money. That was like, I'm not spending that amount of money on an iPod. But I obviously from a business perspective, I mean, look, the iPod Touch right now is pretty much an iPhone in terms of the hardware. So
that just doesn't make phone calls.
right, but
Yeah.
it looks like an iPhone, right? So from a hardware perspective, it's probably not that difficult to make, but at the same time, as the iPhone keeps evolving,
Are people going to buy it?
are they going to keep evolving the iPod Touch?
Right. And eventually it'll just become an iPhone.
But I think that the iPod is one of those things, and you know that I'm not an Apple fanboy. I
Not at
actually
all.
reject it a little bit. Not because I think Apple makes bad products, but I hate the fanfare about it because...
Because
again,
tú eres la voz contraria del pueblo sometimes.
no, I'm not. You know why? Because look, remember when we were in high school that we used to use Macintosh?
Yes,
The
yeah, that's right,
Performas?
yeah.
Right? Those were great computers.
They were,
right?
yeah, that's right.
I had
You had a Mac, didn't you?
I did. I had an iMac in blue.
I just had that flashback.
I did.
Yeah.
I did because I liked Macintosh. But you know me. When everybody starts jumping on a bandwagon, I get off the wagon and go back.
That's what I mean. You're the voz contrario del pueblo.
I am that person.
Right.
I don't try. It's not a conscious decision. It's
I think
no,
in a
it's
way
not.
it
I
is.
just get really turned off by it. And then when people just started buying Macintosh stuff, which is more expensive,
It is.
I mean, I know people that would buy like MacBook Pros, and I'm like, do you even know?
You don't use it. Like,
Do you
don't-
even know what the
purpose,
potential
yeah.
of this computer? Like, no, like
I just want it because it's Mac.
yeah, it's Mac, it's an Apple.
Right.
It's like, so that would really annoy me. And even when the iPhone came out, it was like, oh, well, you know my whole thing when the iPhone came out. My whole problem when the iPhone came out, and that's why I rejected the iPhone for years, is that when the iPhone came out, it was only available on AT&T.
Oh, I'd forgotten about that.
For years, for
That's
like
right.
the first 4 or 5 years, it was only available
I
on
totally
AT&T,
forgot about that.
Right? And I was like, I'm not switching to AT&T. Like, you're not going to make me switch to AT&T.
Just to get a phone.
Then I became a contrarian. I'm like,
Okay.
no, I'm very happy with T-Mobile, right? And
Well,
then-
especially with how little you pay for T-Mobile.
Right. And then at that time, I mean, I understand that it was the beginning of the smartphone revolution, but at that time, Apple wasn't allowing third-party apps.
Oh, that's
So
right.
everything
yeah.
was Apple, right?
You're right.
And then, you
You're
know,
right.
so this day...
Things that I forgot, yeah.
So this day, like, look at my phone. Look at the screen of my phone. My home screen.
Okay, all right.
Not a single icon.
Okay.
Right? Which is the same as in my laptop. My laptop, my desktop has no icons.
Okay.
Right? I like no icons on it. And then in Apple, you can't customize that. You have to have the icons.
Right.
And, like, it really, really bothers me that I can't customize a phone. It's a me thing. You
Okay.
know, you have your new things.
I have multiple me
Right.
things.
My me thing is that it's like crap. I'm paying so much money for this device.
The minimum you can do is let me do what
and
I want
I
with
can't
it.
even like get rid of the icons on my desktop.
Which is funny because that's one of the things that people kind of tout about smartphones in general, which is, you know, yes, it's the same phone, but it's customized. It's your phone, you know, because of the apps that are in it or the cover, and yet you can't do that.
Yeah. And then my problem,
never thought about
we're
that.
turning into a rant against Apple.
It's our show.
My whole thing with Apple is that they're all their devices are at a premium.
Yes.
And they're good devices. I've never, in my criticism of Apple, I've never said Apple sucks.
They're not a subpar product.
Right. Oh, I know a listener that I know personally that listens to us every week who's going to have a lot of opinions about this.
Should we be anticipating the DM?
Right. But it's funny because it's listeners that we have that are brothers, but one is like Android and the other one is like Mac.
Ooh, they're like that commercial.
Yes. The other one's like iPhone.
Yeah.
And they're very like, and I'm like, dude, both of you, like, yeah,
Calm down.
Pero I've never said, oh, Apple sucks. Apple is a great product. I mean, it really, really is. And just the build quality and everything is great. But it's such a premium. Right. And like, it's so expensive. And then, they have their whole little bullshit, which a lot of people do. A lot of other companies do that they start updating your phone so you could get a new one and slow it down. So
yeah. Yo estoy en eso más o menos right now with my
But we're veering off the whole iTunes, the iPod thing.
iPod Touch.
I mean, just think about, seriously, how the iPod revolutionized
everything.
Because, like, do you remember, I mean, me, like everybody else, especially like when I would travel, when I was in college, I was very fortunate.
You were back and forth.
I did a lot of traveling during those years.
But even just the back and forth travel from Detroit.
Right. Not only that, but like when I would go to Europe and stuff like that, that I would lug around my CD player with like, my binder of CDs.
I still have CD binders.
Oh, me too. I didn't get rid of my CD binder. I didn't get rid of my CDs. And even though I love CDs and I still buy CDs, and, obviously having thousands of songs in a little device is more convenient, especially when you travel.
Yeah.
And it's just, I feel that with the iPod, it was just like day and night. The iPod, I feel, was truly the first handheld device.
Okay.
Like handheld. We're not talking about portable. Because, the
Walkman
and all
the Discman, right.
And the Discman, are all portable. I mean, like handheld. I mean, it was quite a thing.
It was revolutionary. It was. And it's because of that I think music, as big a part of the world as music was, I think it became bigger. Because music now just literally was in your pocket at all times. It was times for everything, whether back on MySpace, what would you customize with music? So I feel like the iPod kind of led the way to us, this constant streaming of music that we all take for granted now. This was that first opportunity to say, you can have whatever you want to listen to, whenever you want to listen to, literally, like you said, handheld.
Right.
You don't have to go and pull the CD and change the disc and all that. It's just like hit the button and go.
You know that I'm so like on the fence about streaming. Okay. I really am.
In what sense?
Because, for example,
unless of course you're streaming podcasts, which is,
for example, just the other day I got in. I was in my parents' car, and my dad's car, I think, is like, he has an Altima. It's like the last car they made with like a CD player, because the car's not old. It's like not even 2 years old. And,
oh wow!
And it still has a CD player.
Oh shit.
And I used their car that day, and I had a CD because I went to my parents' house, and
that's where all your
all my
CDs
live.
Are.
And I'm like, I'm gonna take Octoon Baby, U2's album, and I listened to the whole album. You don't do that as much with streaming.
You do not do that at all.
I mean, you could.
But you don't.
But you don't.
But you don't.
And there's something to be said about getting a CD, an album, and listening to the whole thing, right?
That's how you discover songs. Truly. Because otherwise, for the most part, you're listening to singles. With streaming is what I mean.
Well, yes. I mean, again, with the issue with streaming is sort of like the issue we make with like streaming in terms of TV programming, that there's just so much that you're like,
right,
I don't even know where to
start,
begin, right? And this is the same thing. Like, I used to get we all did. You used to get a CD and just listen to the whole thing. Yep. And now with streaming, again, you can, because you could get the whole album on whatever music platform you use.
But you don't.
But it's different. Like, I don't know.
Y eso que recently Spotify changed it so that now if you hit, because of Adele, thank you, Adele, she complained that with her latest album, the way that the format used to be before is if you would hit like just play Adele, if it played the album, but it would shuffle. Like,
yes, I hate that.
It would shuffle.
Like, I hate that.
Adele basically complained about it for all intents and purposes, and so they changed it now so that when you
But only
listen,
on Spotify?
well, I mean, they can only control Spotify.
That's so funny you say that, because that's actually one of the reasons why I don't listen to whole albums on streaming, because it shuffles it, and it's so annoying.
It is.
Like, again, first world problem here. The world is falling apart, and we're complaining
About, yeah.
songs,
Shuffle on Spotify.
on digital music. I hate it. Like,
Yeah.
I hate it.
But that's another reason why you don't listen to an album, because you're listening to an album, and all of a sudden, oh, now it's the first album. Oh, no, it's the seventh album. Oh, no, it's the second. Oh, no,
I
it's
don't
the
know.
remix album.
I mean, I think that every generation always says something nostalgic and always something positive about their things about their generation that the newer generation doesn't get. But I just think there was something so like religious about going to a record store and getting an album and holding it and looking at the
tactile,
the tracks at the back,
the album art.
Yes, the album art. Like, you know, do you remember and again, you have to be of a certain age to appreciate this, how like in the mid 90s, like albums, like CD cases started having the clear background instead of the black one. Right, so now it opened up a world of possibilities,
because now the CD itself could also be you know, artwork.
And it was so exciting, and it would be so disappointing when you would buy an album and then it had like one picture.
Which is actually kind of where we're at now if you think about it.
It is,
because they released the album picture for the cover, and that's kind of it.
It is. So there was something about that, and reading the lyrics, and I don't know, like
the experience of it all.
It was, and sometimes I think, you know, because vinyl's making a comeback, and so it's not that vinyl or CD are ever going to have the presence that they once did, but they're still hanging on. Yeah,
especially vinyl's one that shocked the hell out of me.
And that, I mean, I think
the only thing that had a bigger comeback than vinyl was the QR code.
Well, yes. It only took a pandemic.
It only took a
world pandemic,
but it came back.
So yeah, that's something that I missed. Like, one of my favorite things to do, as you know, was going to Blockbuster Music, man, that dates us, and going to the import section and just going through all those CDs from like the UK and Europe and being like, oh my God, who are these people? I want to listen to this, you know, whatever. And then going and listening to it at the listening station. And, you know, now
there's an appreciation for discovery.
Yeah.
That I don't think exists when it's at the click of a button.
I realize this is making us sound really old.
We sound like we're 7,000 years old right now. Like, we might as well be talking about silent films.
Right.
Yeah.
What? There's movies that have audio?
You know, when we went to the Nickelodeon, you know, I mean, we might as well just...
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so funny you say that. I'll never forget that when Titanic came out, I had a coworker of mine, because you know the scene in Titanic, the scene in the grand staircase, when he kisses her hand, the very iconic
scene. Yeah,
you know what he? I know you only saw that movie once and you hate it, but
it's iconic and I remember it.
Right, when he says, "I saw that in a Nickelodeon." Like, I remember I had a coworker at that time who was like, "They had Nickelodeon back then," and I'm like, where do I even begin to answer that
There's
question?
so much to unpack in that question. You should have just been like, yes. Yes.
They had Nickelodeon.
That is where You Can't Do That on Television started, on the Titanic.
Can you imagine, like, beep, 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 Nickelodeon? But it's like, you know, in that, like, 20s, like, well, no, this would be even more because Titanic was in 1912. And that, like, kind of scratchy music from the
like
early 20th century, like that it was in what do you call them, the record players of that
the phonograph
time? The phonograph. It was like in a phonograph. Beep, 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 beep. Scratchy.
I was thinking of my dad's mom whenever I hear the phonograph, because she said that growing up they had one in the house, but since she was the youngest, they always had her standing next to the crank.
Oh yeah.
While her brothers and sisters listened to the music, she was the designated.
You know what's funny? I just asked myself, why did I think of a dog?
Hello.
Yes, RCA
or HMV.
What's HMV?
The record store, His Master's Voice. It was a European. It was a British.
Oh.
But yeah, it was called His Master's Voice because that's what he was hearing coming out of the thing.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. You learn something new every day. Well. How is everybody's
That's
drive?
the learn part of today, I guess.
How is everybody's drive today? How is?
It's a Friday. You know, no matter how bad the drive is, it's a Friday.
Yeah, that's true.
So I wanted to bring something up because it actually reminded me a little bit of something we touched on last week. And no, not racism or abortion, but the Met Gala.
Yes.
And I don't know if you saw that this week the fashion house Balenciaga released what they're calling distressed sneakers. Did you hear about this at all? Or
and the sneakers are probably like thousands of dollars.
Okay, the sneakers are, I think it's like $1,800. But have you seen the sneakers?
No.
Okay, these are the $1,800 ones are like the limited higher end edition, and then they have other ones for like $600 and something dollars. Okay, this is what they look like, the $1,800 ones.
Oh, okay.
Basically, they look like they've been run through a dumpster. Okay.
Right.
Now, the reason I say that I thought of you is because, again, the narrative when this first came out was like, oh, these 18, and we'll post pictures of the shoes. These $1,800 shoes, and then Balenciaga
They look like they got stuck in una chapeadora de patio.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, we've all worn these shoes at one point before we throw them away.
Yeah.
In a misguided attempt at PR control, they came out saying like, only 100 pairs of these quote unquote extra destroyed sneakers are going to be available for $1,850. The non-limited editions, which are on the website, are just $495 and $625, depending on the specific style. So the ones that are the cheaper ones are these. Okay. The reason I say I thought of you and I thought of Met Gala is because you know how last week you asked if I thought the Met Gala was tone deaf?
Yes.
And I said I didn't think so. It was a nice distraction. That's tone deaf.
Well, yeah.
That is the definition of tone deaf because you've got people in this world who that is.
For our listeners, it's a pair. They look like.
I'm literally going to post it.
Look like Converse.
Yeah, like high top, like Chuck high tops. Yeah,
it's not even that they're dirty; it's that they're destroyed.
They're just right. They're purposely destroyed. Again, I'm going to post pictures of them, but. I was like, when there are literally people in this world who that is their shoes because that's just what they have. For you to come out with this and then to try to back away from it and be like, no. The $1,800 ones are only 100 pairs. The other ones are just, $700. What are you smoking? Well, what possesses you to even think this is a good idea?
Well, because that's always been sort of like the disconnect a lot of time with fashion. And look, I get that there are luxury brands. Right, I get that. It's what makes the world go round.
But they're making poverty luxury.
And everybody wants to aspire to certain things. Like, I get it. Even if I sit here and sometimes I'm like, ooh, that's not me. Yeah, I fall to in that too sometimes. Look, what I would love to, like, a goal of mine is to one day have, like, a custom tailored Tom Ford suit.
Oh, me too.
Because, like, Tom Ford suits,
they're
gorgeous. They're just
they're classic. They never go to style.
And it's like, $25,000.
Right.
Will I ever spend $25,000 on a
no? But would I like to have one?
But so I get it. Like, I get it. But right, what you're making there is like poverty porn. Right.
Like we say when people are like, I want to go to Cuba before it's ruined.
Right. It's like you are failing to see that unfortunately that's a reality to millions of people around the world that don't even have shoes. Some people don't even have shoes. Right. So while you have companies like Tom's.
Right, they're doing good things.
A pair of shoes every time you buy their shoes. These people are glamorizing,
right? Something that they don't even have.
Shoes, and shoes are sort of a necessity, right?
Well, of course they are,
right?
Especially if you live in areas that are hot,
right? They're certainly not a luxury
at all,
right? Yeah, they're glamorizing it and making it. I've told you this. I think I'm very open-minded. I strive and I pride myself in being an open-minded person. I think that I'm creative and I appreciate art. I love going to museums. I love seeing paintings. But and it's just my opinion, and a lot of people may disagree with me. I think there's a lot of art, and I will include that in there.
Fair.
A lot of art, in terms and again, I'm adding fashion there too.
Well, because fashion has its artistic moments.
I think. In my opinion, it does not have artistic merit, but we are trained, as a society, to give artistic merit to someone. maybe as somebody who's artistic, but if somebody tells you it's artistic, we have to
take it. Right.
Because there is nobody who's going to tell me that a canvas painted in black is art. Like, there's nobody who's going to convince me of that. They're just not. And for people to stand there in front of that and be like, oh my God, like,
right.
Wow, je ne sais quoi. You know, it's so je ne sais. No.
Right.
No, you're not going to convince
You're buying into it. You're
right?
not.
You're not going to convince me. You're not going to convince me that a pile of trash bags is art. Right? Unless it has some hell of a context.
Right.
Right? You know, like, I don't know, if you put 1,000 trash bags in the middle of like
Biscayne Bay.
Harrods department store in London.
Okay.
Know? And it's like contextual social like commentary.
Right.
Like something like that.
But it's got to be executed very well.
Right. You know, that's like, you can make that argument about performance art.
Yeah, which I don't care for most performance art.
Right.
Because I don't get it.
Right. Tilda Swinton.
Tilda Swinton.
In a box.
For like 3 days.
It's Tilda Swinton in a box.
Right. The one that I still don't get, and that everybody's like, oh, it's so moving. The one that la mujer esa que se sienta en la mesa.
Yeah, and looks at people.
And just looks at people, and then people leave, and they're like, oh my God, I was so moved. I'm like, have you never looked at somebody's face?
Do you know who she is? She actually, hold on, because you know what? Now that you brought her up, I want to.
That's one of those art pieces that
I
I just don't. I don't get it. I don't get it. And I know that when she was doing it, there was one guy in particular, I think, who sat across from her.
It was an ex, like, old lover.
Was one of her lovers, because she's that age that she still calls people lovers.
Oh my God! You know what's so funny?
Like, who says that anymore?
No, you know what's so funny that, like, you know that I also volunteer as a guardian ad litem in the guardian ad litem program for legal, I guess, definitions. When you're talking about a parent about their significant other or love interest, you call them a paramour.
A paramour? Yeah. It'd be great if every time you said that, the band showed up.
And it's funny because I knew, obviously, I knew what a paramour was.
But I mean, we're not in the William Shakespeare times.
Right. But it was just interesting. So, okay, well, we're talking about a performance art. We are talking about, because I want to make sure I get her name wrong.
Right. You want to make sure you get it right, not wrong.
Marina Abramovic. Okay. So she does a lot of performance art, and the most recent one she did, the one you're talking about, I believe was in the Met in like 2010, 2011.
Yeah, recent.
Where she was wearing like this big red dress, and she was sitting at a table, and then people from the public would sit on the other end of the table, and she would just look into your eyes for
totally silent,
like, I don't know, a minute or some time. And what she was talking about was that they filmed it when one of those people, because in between people like coming and going, she would close her eyes. So then when she would open her eyes, there'd be a completely new person in front of her. They brought somebody who was an
ex-lover,
an ex-paramour. Somebody, who was significant in her life once upon a time, and they probably hadn't seen each other in decades, whatever. So they caught that reaction. Well, she actually did something very, very, like, in the world of performance art, very famous. She did a performance art piece in the 1970s because this is what people did in the 1970s, where
didn't have cable.
She was, I don't remember the specifics of it, but one of the portions of the performance art, like, I think in one portion they could say whatever they wanted to her, and in the end they could do whatever they wanted to her, and they tried to like kill her, and like the public, like, they tried to like kill her, to rape her, and all that, and that was part of the performance art. Yeah, it's like really messed up.
I mean, it's no robotic centipede coming out of Madonna's vag, but here we are.
In that new NFT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But look, I faltaba.
Like, look it up. Like, listeners, look it up, because
I didn't know that.
It's really complex. It's like very famous within the world of performance art. But again, like, even performance art, it's like, again, it's Tilda Swinton in a box.
Right.
I mean, what we're talking about, people, is that some years ago, Tilda Swinton, the actress, was in a glass box for what? How many days?
For like 2-3 days or something.
And there was, she slept in the box.
That's all she did. It wasn't a very big box.
Peed in the box. And everybody was like, oh my God. And I'm like, it's Tilda Swinton in a box.
The funny thing is that if you describe it, it literally sounds like an SNL skit.
So is a mime getting out of a box performance art?
And yet mimes are still the bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah. What's to say? What's funnier than a mime pretending to get out of a box is a mime trapped in a box.
Trapped in an actual box.
They are
considered.
Do you think they're over or under clowns? Although clowns have lost their stock.
They have lost their stock, but I think mimes are under because at least clowns, mimes, everything is imaginary. At least clowns can actually make a little balloon animal.
Right, and clowns can talk.
Right?
And interact with you.
When they hit each other with a pie, it's a real pie.
Right. And yeah, and mimes really aren't big in North America.
No, not even in Montreal.
It's a very European thing.
And you know those Quebecois, but not even them.
They're the bottom of the totem.
They are the bottom of the performance totem pole. I think it's like mimes and like puppeteers, and then clowns.
Are you serious?
I think so.
But I feel that puppeteers
depends on the puppeteer. Like if we're talking like Muppets, that's one level. But
we've talked about this on the show before. I know we have. But
the Muppets,
to me, the Muppets are real. There's not a hand inside that puppet.
We have talked about them. Didn't we talk about this when we were talking with Sonia Manzano?
We may have, but I remember we had a conversation, 200 some episodes ago.
If I was to meet a Muppet, I would talk to the Muppet.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't talk to the person
I've told you that
under them. No.
The Miss Piggy has co-hosted The View a few times. And to me, she's a co-host.
To you, Miss Piggy has co-hosted The View.
Yes.
Right.
To me, she's a co-host like any other invited co-host. Right? To me, they have Social Security numbers.
Right. They have Medicare. They have, yeah.
I don't need to know anything about the farceness of it. Don't tell me. I don't want to know. I don't care.
I have tried actually reaching out to the Muppets for the show because, Pepe the King Prawn, he's a Latino Muppet. And I've tried looking for an email. I'm like, that would be great because that would be one that we would have to record. Video record.
I forget who I heard it from, or even I forget where I got this from. That when celebrities and stuff go on Sesame Street, even between takes, they talk
to the Muppet
as in character.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I think we talked about this with Sonia.
It's not like
with someone.
They have the Muppet of Elmo and Bob is the
no
puppeteer, and it's like, hey Bob, how's your name?
No, it's Elmo.
It's like, hey Elmo. I would totally be like, yeah.
I'd be like, I don't even want to know your name.
Hi, Elmo. It's been such a long day.
I'd be like, do you want to go to craft services?
Elmo, tired. Can you imagine Elmo and Yoda having a conversation?
Oh, wow. Well, okay, but Elmo has the right syntax. It's just he talks in third person. Mm-hmm. But Yoda talks, the syntax is all wrong.
Tired I am, Elmo.
Right. Oh, no, I want that to happen. Now I want this to be a thing. And I want this to be a thing yesterday.
Yoda and Elmo. The Yoda and Elmo hour.
They should recite Shakespearean poetry or something.
Elmo hungry. Elmo going to McDonald's.
Hungry you are, Elmo. Nuggets chicken, I wish.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. We know things can feel overwhelming, from jobs to family to relationships, even finances. And despite the stigma from Hispanic families about airing our dirty laundry, we can all use someone to talk to during those moments of stress. Well, we're here to remind you that there's no shame in admitting that you need to speak with someone to work towards improving mental well-being. That's where BetterHelp comes in to, help. A customized online therapy provider, they offer therapy options on your time, whether it's via phone, video, text, or even live chat sessions with a therapist. BetterHelp's customized approach matches you with a therapist in under 48 hours, based on what you're experiencing to help you better understand yourself. And as a special offer for Pero Let Me Tell You listeners, you can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/pero. It's already more affordable than in-person therapy, and now you can save on your first month. Everyone deserves to be happy, and BetterHelp has helped millions take their first step on that path. That's betterhelp.com/pero. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast episode. Oh, wow. Let me take out my iPods. What else do you have for me?
So I had one other thing, and let me see if I can find it now, because that's how we roll. Okay, actually, you know what? It is kind of touching back on something we talked about last week. So, last week, Roe versus Wade, some of you may have heard about that happening. Little details. But what I've seen lately is there was something that leaked because there was a PR agency that, I can't remember the name, I want to say it was Edelstein, but I could be wrong, that has very big clients like Coca-Cola and McDonald's, very, very blue chip, high level clients. And a memo leaked where they were telling the heads of the company, like, do not say anything about any of this abortion stuff. Don't release a statement. Don't do it. And then what I proceeded to see was people raking that PR agency over the coals for telling the clients not to do that. And all I could think of was like, but that's their job. Like, if you're a company, you don't want to get pulled into these very, very high and delicate topics. And at the end of the day, let me just be frank, I really don't care about Coca-Cola's position on abortion.
Right.
I think, number one, that's what PR agencies get paid to do. And a lot of times these agencies will step in and say, don't say anything, but then a couple of weeks in, when they've had a chance to formulate a response, we'll release something and what have you. Because let's face it, a lot of times, if you release a statement like this after anything happens, it can come back and bite you in the ass.
Right. So, but people were upset that the PR agency was telling their clients,
correct,
not
to say anything. Right.
Okay, as somebody who's in advertising and all that, what?
I basically, that's what I'm saying.
But if a client came to you and said that they wanted to give a statement,
I would say don't do it. I would say you do what you want to do, but I don't recommend it. Number one.
Okay,
because let me take a step back. Number one, it depends on the client. Because if we're talking about, actually, to use your example, perfect example of earlier, I mean, that's actually from Café La Llave. They just sent us a bunch of little knickknacks and tacitas and café. To use your example, actually, of Tom's, let's use them. Tom's is known for their philanthropy. Mm-hmm. If something were to happen now that was kind of related to a topic or an issue that Tom's has been very vocal about, like homelessness, right? Because they donate a pair of shoes to people in need. Let's broaden the scope and say homelessness, right? If something happened with, like, they were trying to outlaw homelessness, I don't know, I'm making stuff up, and Tom's wanted to release a statement, I would say, you know what, that makes absolute sense, because it's tied to something that is part of your wheelhouse. It's part of your brand identity, right? Fair enough. Pero regreso to Coca-Cola.
But let me ask you,
does Coca-Cola need to release a statement?
Let me ask you this, though.
And if Coca-Cola came to me, it'd be like, what do we do? I'd be like, don't say anything right now. Let's see what happens.
Again, I understand that argument because, anything, when you're a huge corporation like that, first of all,
Disney's a perfect example,
it's
actually.
damn if you do, damn if you don't. And then there's going to be half of the population you're going to piss off.
Right.
Half that you're not. And then at the end, you're going to piss off everybody.
Right.
Right? But how different would it be or not be? Like, for example, 2 years ago, a lot of corporations and a lot of, like, really big conglomerates made comments about the George Floyd situation.
I think the biggest difference there is that when you have, and I'll liken this, I'll kind of tie it back a little bit to Disney and the Florida, don't say gay thing. When you have a company that does have employees of all different, races, creeds, ethnicities, etc., you inherently want to show those people that you stand by them. That you stand by their, by who they are, by the very nature of who they are, which is why, it was a little disheartening with Disney, specifically in the last couple of years, you know, when they've released many, things within their wheelhouse that are either, you know, coded as gay, or, you know, or they have gay days, they have their little pins with the pride flag. You know, when you don't hear them come out and say something, it's a little disheartening, because it's like, wait a minute, you're willing to take the money for it, but then you're not willing to say anything.
You're not willing to walk the walk,
right? Because
you're talking the talk, but
not walking the walk, right? So I think, yes, if something that is, you know, like anti-black people, you know, comes to play, Coca-Cola, Delta, America, whomever, yes, you take a stance, because again, we're talking about the swath of your employees. Whereas I feel like, even though at the end of the day, an abortion could, in theory, affect all women, right, who are 50% of the population, the fact is that is something, rightfully so, that should be private. And so you don't necessarily have women just kind of walking into a boardroom and being like, had that abortion today.
So you think that, depending on what the issue is, it may,
different levels.
It may or may not be appropriate, or in this case, inappropriate, for a company to say something.
I believe so, and I also think that you have to attack it delicately, regardless.
Well, I mean, I agree that you have to attack it delicately,
but sometimes tactfully means you can't release a statement in 10 minutes.
I think that a corporation, listen, in the eyes of the law, a corporation is, you know,
is a person.
United is a person. I think that, you know, for example, with the current issue of a woman's right to choose, I think that if a corporation wants to make a statement, even if it's not a statement like, here at Coca-Cola, we are for abortion, right, you know, and we do not want to, even they could make a really pretty commercial of like Coca-Cola spokeswomen throughout the decades.
We respect women's choice.
Because at the end, Coca-Cola
stands behind women.
Stands behind, you know, with women, and wink, wink. You know, I think that something like that, if that's something they wanted to do, would be a great statement. Right. I mean, I don't think that the PR company, you know, going back to the start of the story, I don't think that the PR company should be attacked for that, because the PR company is doing their job, whether you agree with their call or not.
But that's the definition of PR.
That's a different story. But as far as like Coca-Cola, because I mean, the thing is that if there's a chilling factor to the argument of abortion or a woman's right to choose, then you can make that argument to everything else.
Oh, no, I agree 100%. But I think that because of the rightfully private nature of abortion, it's not something that is as
right. But
do you understand what I'm saying? When you compare it, like for instance, when you compare it to like George Floyd and the BLM marches and things like that. That's what I mean. It's
right. But the act of an abortion, the act itself is very private. But a woman's right to choose is a very broad and open argument.
Agreed.
Right. Which really what the argument is about. You know, as I always tell people, I'm not for abortion. Nobody wants to get an abortion. Nobody loves abortion. Nobody is like, yeah, I'm getting an abortion today.
There's not like punch cards like at the
right. I'm not for abortion. Right. I'm for a woman's right to choose.
Right.
I see it differently. I don't think they're. I wouldn't say that it's not that they're mutually exclusive, but like to me, that's not the argument.
Right. But you know very well that there are people out there who don't see it as pro-choice. They see it as anti-life.
Well, of course.
No, right. That's what I'm saying. So, like, that's unfortunately, the slippery slope that these companies might find themselves in, and so they have to approach it with care, I think.
Right, but you know, in the day and age that we're living in, it's just, I think that PR is just a nightmare, because again, it's damn if you do and damn if you don't. Yeah, you know,
I would never want to work PR right now.
You know what I'm going to give a really good example of is Taylor Swift. Right? Because, for example, my nature is like, as I always said, yo me tiro para la calle. Like, I'm about protesting, I'm about vocalizing, but that is who I am, right? But not everybody is like that, right? And if you choose not to be that, that's just not in your nature. That
doesn't make you less of a person.
I don't think you should be forced to do that. I don't think it means you don't care.
Right.
I just think that maybe you don't feel comfortable publicly talking about that, the same way that, you know, a lot of people don't feel publicly talking about that. And Taylor Swift was given a lot of crap for not speaking up against, like when Trump was president, against Trump. because, she had such a diverse fan base, right? And she was given, again, she was totally with the gays, but then she wouldn't call out Trump and any anti-LGBT legislation, right? And she got a lot of shit for that until she finally did. Right. So it's one of those things that, like, if she did and she wanted to,
great,
and at her own time,
right?
Great. We say that too about, like, well, we've talked about that, about, like, public figures, who decide not to come out publicly, or decide that just because they...
I'm not going to say it,
just because they are gay doesn't mean that they're going to become an advocate, or that they're going to become,
the poster child,
or whatever, an activist. That's a personal choice, and I don't think that makes you a bad person, because I think that right now we're living sort of in an all or nothing, time, that it's like you're either with us or against us, and not everything.
Human beings are a little more nuanced.
Not everything is that black and white. Some people just don't feel comfortable being in the middle of this controversy. That doesn't mean their heart is not in the right place, because it's the attitude of, like, if you don't say something, what is it? Silence is complicity.
Right.
And I agree that to a certain extent it is, because I agree that, people need to speak out, especially about certain things. But again, you can't also put it over somebody who just doesn't feel comfortable. I mean, some people are very shy. Some people are very reserved. They're very introverted. You shouldn't put it over them like a hammer either.
There's also something to be said for, I think, and I'll use ourselves as an example. I think after 200 plus episodes of people listening to us, they know where we come down on certain issues. I don't feel the need that every time something happens, we necessarily, I mean, we're a current events podcast, but we don't necessarily have to, like, run to make a statement or show a position. I feel like after a certain point, where people stand.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't have to, in essence, come out every time.
I mean, if they do, they do, and if they don't, they don't.
But they shouldn't have to.
Right. And with whatever topic. So, that's a good one. I mean, look, like this week, the whole thing with that was the whole argument of, is it okay to protest in front of a judge's home? What do you think about that?
A Supreme Court judge?
Well, in this case, it was a Supreme Court justice, but just in general.
Okay, so I have a question for you before. Yep. Supreme Court justices, by their nature, are not elected officials.
No.
So that walks a fine line, right? Because you can make the argument that they did not. I mean, yeah, they chose to accept the nomination, but they were appointed. So, they're kind of just doing their job. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right, because at the end of the day, obviously these are much older people, Supreme Court justices, but you're protesting in front of a private residence. You're protesting in front of a house of somebody who has a family who has nothing to do with the decision. Okay. It's like I always say, when people get elected into, like, the White House, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, look at their children, and I'm like, dude, no, literally, lo que hay menos tienen any dog in the race is the underage kids,
right?
Because they literally just woke up one day and it's like, hey, guess what? We're moving to the White House.
Yeah.
That is where I kind of draw the line. And I think you can protest someone at their place of employment, but where do you draw the line?
I mean, I think that where I would protest would be at the steps of the Supreme Court.
Right.
I probably wouldn't go protest in front of a justice's home, but I think that you have the right to. It is legally protected. It is legally protected because the Supreme Court has ruled. Is it the Supreme Court? I forget if it was the Supreme Court ruling that they ruled. Was it the Supreme Court or was it a federal court? I can't remember now. That ruled that it is legal to protest in front of an abortion. If you're pro-life, to protest in front of the home of a doctor of an abortion clinic.
Really?
It is.
Oh, see, that I didn't know.
It is. So.
Okay, well then, okay. With that context now under my belt,
right, because remember,
I wouldn't do it, but I can see
right,
it.
Constitutionally, free speech can be curtailed in scope and time, but not in messaging or location. They could just tell you, oh, you can't protest in front of the house from like
6 to 12.
Right, 9 p.m. to like 6 a.m.
Okay.
Because those are just the ordinances here. But you can protest the rest of the time. But again, I that's not how I would do it. Right. I would do it. I think that the steps of the Supreme Court would be a lot more impactful.
Absolutely.
Because I do, even if it's a justice that I obviously disagree with, again, I'm not going to cross that line because I wouldn't want them to cross that line for me. But I think it's fair game. They certainly have a right to be there as long as it's peaceful. Right. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with this. Thankfully, we have a podcast, and we'll be along for the ride.
We can make our voices heard.
So moving right along.
Actually, before you do, because there's no way to shoehorn this in.
Yeah.
The other day, I was watching an episode of Webster.
From the 80s?
Yes, with Emmanuel Lewis, yeah. Yes. And whatever, the episode was that they were part of like a Boy Scout troop. They were going camping, and the stepmother or the mother character started naming, famous explorers, that, from the olden days. Where she's like, like Lewis and Clark or Abercrombie and Fitch.
She said Abercrombie and Fitch?
She said Abercrombie and Fitch. And I was like, oh, this is from like 1985. And they were saying Abercrombie and Fitch.
Well, Abercrombie and Fitch, the store has been around since the late 1800s.
Right, but there you go. So I was like, I need to mention this just to bring it full circle.
Yeah, that's like a total white thing. I mean...
Yeah.
Well, that's what they were going for. People, have you seen the documentary White Hot by the Rise and Fall of Abercrombie and Fitch?
I think a lot of people saw it actually after you talked about it, because we got a couple DMs about it.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Actually, I wanted to quickly bring up something because I found it really interesting. So I was watching CBS Sunday Morning.
Oh, it's been a while.
It's been a while, right?
Well, everybody take a shot. Today you mentioned CBS Sunday Morning, and in passing with the Muppets, The View.
Of course. Wait, I need one more. NPR. And I've been into Bill Maher a lot recently, but Bill Maher's topics are not... I usually wouldn't bring something up from Bill Maher.
I have such a love-hate relationship with him.
Well, but that's the point.
That's the nature of him. Yeah,
right, that's the point.
Yeah.
Because sometimes he says things and I want to throw something at him and then
but then other times you're like,
yep, he said it the way it is. And the thing, there's a lot of liberals that don't like Bill Maher.
Well, because he doesn't give a shit one way or the other.
He doesn't give it. I mean, look, he obviously swings left, right? But he calls out liberals for their shit. Right. And he calls out a lot of things for what they are. And a lot of people don't like him for that. But that is what I like about Bill Maher, that it's not an echo chamber.
Equal opportunity.
And he brings on people to his show from, I mean, he's had
all over.
He's had Steve Bannon on his show.
Oh, the devil.
Yeah, right, but he's had it. I mean, can you imagine a sit down with Steve Bannon and Bill Maher? I mean... But anyway, moving from Bill Maher and politics and Steve Bannon to donuts.
Ooh, yay.
Who doesn't love donuts?
Communist.
And I learned something really interesting this week on CBS Sunday Morning that I wanted to share with you guys. So do you know that especially in the West Coast, like 80% of all donut shops are owned by Cambodian refugees?
They are?
Cambodia. Donuts. Delicious donuts.
Hulu. There's a documentary on Hulu about
I mean...
Wow.
Yeah, it was totally like, I'm like, really? Cambodia?
Did they say why?
So what happened was that during the genocide of Cambodia, which was like, I think in like the 60s or 70s.
Was that during the killing fields?
Yes. Okay. A lot of them immigrated to the U.S. and to the West Coast. Mm-hmm. So it's like very similar immigrant origin stories. Right. They had trouble finding work. They didn't understand the language. So like they started getting jobs in donut shops. And eventually they started opening up their own donut shops. And what happened was, and I thought that this was like so interesting, was that the now famous pink donut box, you know why it's pink? Because the white pastry boxes were more expensive. The pink ones were cheaper. Nobody wanted the pink ones.
Like your iPod Mini.
Like my iPod Mini. Full circle, baby. Full circle from our first topic. Nobody wanted the pink boxes. So they were cheaper. So they just would randomly buy the pink boxes.
Because that's what they could afford.
Right, because it was cheaper. So it sort of became their trademark. And then just everybody started using the pink boxes.
But hilarious.
Cambodian, like, I just thought it was so...
Mira que there's a lot of donut shops in LA.
There are. I mean, we need more here. I mean, we love Mojo Donuts.
We love Mojo.
But, I mean, we should have a donut shop in every corner.
I mean, listen, if we can have a Starbucks on every corner.
I know, right? Why can't we have the number of Starbucks be number of donut shops?
Jimmy,
You know that-
Jimmy, get on this.
You know that donuts are one of my favorite things in the world.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
You still have never made me your donuts.
No, my donuts weren't great.
That wasn't what I said.
There's something magical about a donut. What do you like more, donuts or cupcakes?
Oh my God, I feel like I'm on Sophie's
No,
Choice.
to me, it's a donut.
It depends on the day.
No, the donut will always win. I mean, I love me a cupcake, but the donut will always win.
I'm really having to think this through.
A donut or a cupcake?
The thing is that like I like the icing on a donut, but I love the frosting on a cupcake.
So I love donuts. As I said, I love donuts. I love all types of donuts. I love them with different frostings, different fillings. Like, give
You
it to
name
me
it, yeah.
all, right? But there's something magical about a really hearty, really thick, sugar-raised donut with just sugar and cinnamon. Simple. Or like a glazed one.
A glazed. Because the thing is that those sugar donuts tend to be cake donuts, and I'm not a fan of cake donuts.
No. The sugar ones aren't cake. The sugar raised ones? No, they're regular donuts. Or a glazed one. A sugar
Glazed.
or glazed.
I'm all about the glaze.
Just a very simple. I've always told you, if you can't make a good glazed donut, I don't care to try everything else.
Well, but it's true. If you're going to open up a bakery, you need to be able to master the basics.
Okay, a cookie, a donut. Okay, what is it, Mary
Kilfuck?
a cookie, a donut, or a cupcake? I'd kill the cookie.
Okay.
I'd fuck the cupcake, but I would marry the donut. I want to be with the donut
I'd
forever.
marry the cupcake and I'd fuck the donut just because it's easier.
Well, but the other one's softer.
Yeah, but it already has a hole in it.
We didn't really need to get that graphic. We didn't need to get graphic.
Hey, listen, you started the game.
Right. No
one to blame but yourself.
No. I'd marry the donut. I want the donut forever.
Because it's like a ring.
Yeah. I even like that twisted donut.
Not the cruller.
There's the French curler.
Because the French cruller is like a
and then
circular
the one that looks like a braid.
Right, the braid. You're talking about the braid.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
I like them all. I'm like,
I do like that braid donut.
yeah. It's more donut. It's more of a value.
I feel like with
Listeners,
that,
what's your favorite donut?
you know what? With that braid donut, I feel like I'm getting a donut and a cake.
Okay. What about, a brownie, a cookie, a donut, or a cupcake?
Brownie at the bottom.
Okay. And then cookie?
Cookie, then depending on the day, cupcake or donut.
Okay. How about, this is fun.
This is great.
Okay, how about ice cream, brownie, cookie, donut, cupcake?
So I'm going to cheat and I'm going to combine the cookie. I mean, I'm sorry.
No, you're not cheating.
I'm going to combine the brownie and the ice cream so I can have a sundae.
Okay.
And then I'll keep the cookie. I don't know. The thing with ice cream is I'm not a big ice cream person. I like ice cream. I do. I genuinely like ice cream, but I very rarely will get a craving for ice cream.
What is wrong with you?
Well, I mostly get cravings for like cupcakes and donuts.
Right. So,
Which, of course, they're all closed by like 6.
I like everything I talked about, but you know which one reigns supreme for me? What will beat all of them?
The flan.
A flan.
A flan.
I
wonder if they could make like a flan donut.
Me and the flan will always win.
I feel like the flan understands you.
Yeah, I do. When I have like a really good piece of flan, like our friend's flan,
Yeah.
like I take next time I have one of her flan. So we have a friend that makes just an amazing.
It really is
flan.
your favorite flan.
Like it's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Like it's in my top 3.
Yeah.
And she makes like an amazing flan, the regular version, and her cheese flan
The cheese
is like
so good.
otherworldly.
Yeah.
Like when I have it, notice next time I have it, like I take a moment and I like process it. Like I need to process
That
like
first spoonful.
It's like a full body experience.
That's why I'm saying the flan
because
understands
to me,
you.
The flan, like again, it's me because I'm obsessed with flan. Like I am obsessed with flan. Like when I cut it, like to feel the knife cutting it, right? And usually it's a wedge, so there's like another cut.
Yeah.
And then when you lift it up, you feel it coming undone.
Okay,
from the
you're
side.
describing it the way some people describe porn.
Right.
Like that's like literally
And
like
then the spoonful.
that first
And then when you first put in your mouth, that creaminess. It's like
with the little caramel.
it's like, oh my god! Like I take a moment. Like I'm like
I see you taking the moment as we speak.
and I don't even have flan in front
No,
of me because
exactly.
I'm thinking about
You're,
flan.
it's sense memory.
Yes. So I love it all. Like I'm addicted to sugar. I really am.
Yeah, it's not good.
Like I tell people all the time, you could keep your porterhouse wagyu steak. Give me a delicious piece of flan or like a donut.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that one time
Devil's food cake.
we were in Austria, right? And we walk into this beautiful, just beautiful old world bakery. And it was exactly what you would think it would be.
Okay.
Because bakeries here in the United States are very, I don't know, they're very like, I think because most bakeries here in the U.S. are combined with coffee, so it's very like quick and go.
Right, very transactional.
Right. Although some of them a lot of them do have for you to sit down, but it's more to like hang out and less about the baked goods, right? This bakery was not that. This bakery was like the baked goods were front and center.
Okay, they were a star.
And then it was like old, like wooden and all that. Oh, so I remember they had like they had a section of like different delicious frosted cakes and cupcakes, and then they had like all these like cookies, and then all these like different like desserts and pastries.
It sounds like out of like a fairy tale.
And then they had like yes. I could have sworn something was sparkling, right? And they had like malts and milkshakes, and I remember being like, "I'm going to cry. Like, I don't know what to do with myself." Like I remember telling my parents, "Like, let's just go." Like,
what did you wind up having?
Actually, no. I took like a box home. Like,
okay,
well, not home
because I know what happens when you can't decide.
Right. No. That's what happens with me. So, listeners, I get very overwhelmed because I love desserts. If you know me, you know that I'm all about the dessert. As I said, you could throw away. Well, not throw it away. I want to wagyu
I'll take it. Yeah,
but give me the sweets. And so there was this really funny story among our friends that this was years ago. There was a restaurant in South Beach on Lincoln Road called Next, which has actually closed.
Yeah, it closed.
After like 20-some years, it closed. And Next actually, in like the late 90s, early 2000s, got into a nasty little legal battle with the Cheesecake Factory.
Oh, I thought it was owned by it. I thought they bought it.
No, sir, that is not a Cheesecake Factory restaurant.
Well, I thought they eventually bought it.
Right, because everything inside of it looked like the Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, the menu was like 45 pages long.
Like rustic, brown,
No, and the menu that looked like Pangea.
Yes, the menu, and then, but they had, whereas the Cheesecake Factory has predominantly cheesecakes, they had a wider selection of like really high-end desserts. They had obviously cheesecakes. They had a carrot cake that was like 3 feet tall. They had like German chocolate cake. They had like a Black Forest cake. They had a coconut cake. They had tarts. They had different chocolates. And I remember one time we went there, and you could go into like the bakery to pick what you wanted, and I was like, I can't pick something. Like I again, I wanted to cry. Like, I was like, I'm gonna cry because I don't know what to do. Right. So I ended up getting a bowl of fruit.
Yeah. He had so many options that he went with the fruit.
I went with the fruit.
The fruit.
Like, I'm having the fruit. Never mind. I'm gonna have the fruit and be mad.
Yeah, and you didn't even want it.
No,
that's the worst part about it. You were not happy with the fruit.
That's a very me thing.
Yeah,
because I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, I want it all. I want the cheesecake. I want the tart. I want the merengue. I want the whatever. I want the German chocolate cake. I want it all. I want it. And you know what? I'm just not gonna have any of it
because I want it so bad. I'm not having it.
Give me the bowl of strawberry and peaches. And I literally, listeners, I had a bowl of fruit.
Well, we were all devouring our, decadent cakes.
I was like, I can't. That's how I felt in Vienna.
Okay.
Vienna was like really grand. Like I remember my mom's like, "Pero tú vas a ordenar tanta cosa," and I'm like, "I sure am."
Aunque me reviente.
When in Vienna.
Maybe
have you been to
I've never been to Switzerland. We passed through it. When we were doing a tour of Italy, because we were like in the north and we just kind of like, but no.
I ate a lot of chocolate there too.
I would imagine.
Yeah, it's funny because like to all the European countries I've been to, like I do the, for that, I never like to do the, typical tourist thing. I always like to go off of the beaten path. But when it comes to food, give me all the tourist
Well,
stuff.
yeah, because if your country is known for something,
In Italy, yes, give me
all the pasta.
Give me all the pasta.
All of it.
Give me all the pasta.
all the gelato.
And you know what's funny about pasta in Italy? I mean, you've been to Italy, and
Yeah.
you know, I'm sure a lot of the listeners have been to Italy. I think that when you travel to Europe, there's certain things that you're disappointed in, and there's other things that it's like, okay, it's better.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like a hit or miss.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things that, like, we're American, right?
Yeah.
We like our pizza to have 5,000 calories.
Right.
It's that pizza napolitana that they give you in Venice, that it's like a thin little layer.
I don't like thin crust to begin with, even here.
Like a thin little, almost
yeah.
like a see-through layer with like a
Yeah.
dollop of tomato sauce with a little piece of like.
I mean, it's yummy, but it's not what I'm. It's not what I'm craving.
It's like no,
It's
I
not what
want I want the 5-topping
Yeah.
pizza with extra cheese.
Give me my Hawaiian pizza.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
or like a really like classic New York pizza.
Yeah.
Para eso yo estoy super
Americanizado.
americanizado. But then like the pasta in Italy, it really is like.
It's just better.
Yeah, it really is. It really is
Yeah.
other level.
Yeah.
And in Europe, the country that to me I was like the most impacted with their food was Greece.
Really?
In Greece, I thought everything just tasted so fresh, and I'm like, this feta cheese was in the goat this morning. Like, I'm pretty sure. Like,
See, it's not that the food was bad in Greece, but I preferred the food in Italy.
well, no. It's not that I just was really taken aback by how fresh I thought the
Everything
food was. Like, everything was so like, wow, this is like real Greek yogurt.
But it's funny 'cause-
this honey that you're putting on the yogurt, I'm sure they have a beekeeper
Right,
in the back.
right. I
you know?
feel the same way in Latin America too. Like the countries I've been to, like Peru, Venezuela, Costa Rica, like all those countries, I feel the exact same way. Where it's
Yeah.
just like, yeah, this was just milked.
Right. It's so like disappointing, funny, and tragic when you go to Italy and it's like, yeah, they don't have chicken parmesan. That's like an American invention.
Yeah, Olive Garden, it's not a thing, kids.
No, but like not even Olive Garden.
No,
like,
pero digo.
chicken parmesan. It's such a. I don't even think like lasagna is like. I think lasagna is American.
No, I think lasagna exists over there. I just don't know if it's Italian. You know what I mean?
Oh my god, they're so delicious. You know that I'm not big on red sauces. I like simple sauces. Like that's why
I like
a carbonara. Oh my god.
I like a good red sauce.
Que
Again.
extraño. Heartburn.
Has that ever stopped me from eating
That's
anything?
true. That's true. You know what I think about red sauces? That I don't taste the pasta, I taste the red sauce. But then again,
Okay, and that's
when I
fair.
have like a gorgonzola cream sauce, I'm like, can you bring me a bucket of the gorgonzola?
Yeah,
cream
you're
sauce?
only tasting gorgonzola at that
I'm really
point.
having sauce with a side of
Gorgonzola.
pasta.
Yeah, you're just having cheese with a little bit of pasta.
Yeah. Oh my god. I remember when. Actually, I'm thinking of something completely different now.
Oh God, where did your mind go?
We'll wrap up soon about eating. So, listeners, when I was 19, I was in college, whatever. I was working at a place that they moved to California, and
Oh, this was the water.
yes, and they took the Miami team to San Diego to do the transition. And then obviously when we finished the transition, we were laid off. But I was 19, so I didn't really give a
and
shit.
you got a
right?
free trip to the West Coast.
Right. So, they offered me to go, and I was in San Diego for 5 weeks, so a little bit over a month. And I remember when I told my parents, they were like, no. And I was like, well, you really can't stop me. I'm 19.
Right.
Right. But they were ultimately okay with it because whatever, it was for work, and I had worked there for a few years already, so whatever.
Pa trabajo.
And I remember that I was in San Diego for a little bit over a month. And, I went with some coworkers, which was fine. But we went to like LA one day. We went to Disneyland. We went to like the beach. But we really didn't go out. And like,
Right.
you know me, I'm very like, I'm adventurous for some things, but for other things, I'm staying in my apartment. And, like,
Right. I'm good. I'm going to watch Murder, She Wrote. Right.
And that is when I discovered Jack in the Box and In-N-Out Burgers.
Okay, well, that would have made sense. Okay.
And that sourdough Jack, I would have like 2 of them a day. And and then I was sort of depressed because whatever, the time of my life and whatever. Don't you remember when I came home, you and some other friends went to the airport to pick me up? And when I came in through the door, you were like, all of you were like, what happened to you? I had gained like 20 pounds.
I do recall this.
And I hadn't even shaved my head. And you were all like, oh.
It was like, welcome home?
Welcome home. We needed to bring a we didn't need to bring
Are we all going to fit?
And I was like, I'm sorry. I had one too many sourdough jacks. But have you had the sourdough jack from?
You know, I have not, because I when I'm in the West Coast, I really just hit
I'm
in and
gonna
out.
say something
So
that's gonna be very controversial.
Uh-oh. You're going to say it's better, you prefer Jack in the Box to
I do.
In and Out?
I do. I think In and Out. Oh my God, we're gonna get so much hate over this.
Why? We want a sponsorship. No, I'm kidding. Well, we can get the Jack
I
in the
think
Box.
In and Out is okay.
For me, In and Out is because we don't have it, number one. So
Right, because I feel that whenever I go to California, I'm like, I gotta go to In-N-Out.
I gotta go to In and Out because I can't get it here.
And then I have In and Out, and I'm like,
Oh, it's good, but I
like,
mean, it's
I didn't deserve it, apuro. Because it's like I feel that it's like, get me off the airplane
and
so
straight
I can go to In
In and Out right by the airport.
Right. Forget the check-in to the hotel. Forget whatever you're doing. We have
We have to go to that one.
Because I feel
That the
you
line is always long.
Especially in LA. You haven't gotten to LA until you go to In and Out.
I think that's fair.
Right.
Yeah.
But then when I have the In and Out, and this happens
That
to
it's
me
done.
every single time, I'm like, that was just okay.
I do say I really like their fries.
I think they're okay. I don't think it's bad, but I like Jack in the Box. That makes me basic, doesn't it?
I don't know because I've never had Jack in the Box.
Oh my God, the sourdough jack is so good. It's on sourdough bread with like melted, like it's like a white provolone or like a white cheese with mayonnaise. Oh, so good, so good.
Meanwhile, we just finished eating, and we're like salivating over donuts.
But give me a flan and a sourdough jack any day. What I've never had also is but they're only in Texas. Whataburger.
I've never had a Whataburger.
Yeah.
They're only Texas.
They're or Texas adjacent. Like,
and I'm sure if we're wrong, Seth will let us know.
Yeah, I mean, look, one of my favorite burgers in terms of like artisanal chains, if you will.
Mm-hmm. That is a wonderful oxymoron. Artisanal chain.
Right, because
but I know you. No, but you're right. Yeah.
Right. Is Shake Shack.
I do enjoy a Shake Shack.
Shake Shack. Look, the Shake Shack burgers. Not that other burgers are low in sodium, but Shake Shack.
No, you can
burgers,
taste the sodium.
My hands after are like the gummy thing, the marshmallow guy from Ghostbusters. I'm like,
I knew that you already have paws to begin with.
I can't bend my fingers, like, of how much sodium this has. Like, but bring in the salt. I don't care. Like,
I mean, how often do you go to Shake Shack?
And I have extra cheese sauce on the side for the fries. It's so freaking good. It's so freaking good. Now that we're talking about fast food.
I want Five Guys fries now.
Five Guys is pretty good. The fries,
I love the fries. Mostly, why I know why I love the fries. I love the fries because it's like, I'll have a small, but then they just fill the whole damn bag up. So
I've told you what my favorite fast food fry is. It's Checkers.
That's right.
Or Rallies,
depending where you're at. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Seth. I'm sorry, Burger Beast. I love it. So, what I really would love to know? And we can end with this.
Okay.
Like, we could have a quick conversation about this. Like, seriously.
Okay.
And you're in, PR and advertising and all that. I really don't understand the evolution of the design of McDonald's. Of the buildings.
That now it looks like an office building?
Because, look, I understand. I actually read something about this. Because if you think about it, Burger King, Wendy's, and McDonald's have all revamped.
Yes.
Right. Burger King has gone to, like, more retro... like market, like visuals and the font and all that.
Right.
Wendy's have completely changed their restaurants and they look really cool. I understand that McDonald's wants again an artisanal kind of like
that was the goal,
right?
The McCafe of it all,
with like white subway tile and like wooden, elements. I get it. But especially externally in the outside of their stores, why did they make it look the way it does? It's a gray box.
It looks like a place you go for an office job.
Right. Like, let's say that you wanted to evolve from the Golden Arches and the...
Right. Which you shouldn't because that's your bread and butter.
The overhang, that they had. And like, okay, let's say you wanted to evolve from that for some reason. But why to what it is? Like, it's really bad. Like, I feel that that's a design that in... 10 years
it's gonna look very dated.
People are gonna be like, remember when McDonald's like restaurants, and then we're going to see a whole we're going to see on the news McDonald's is completely revamping their stores,
and they're going to go completely retro,
right? After their failed whatever,
A lot of times, what happens with those redesigns is similar to what happened recently with Baskin Robbins, where they redesigned their logo.
Yeah.
The idea with McDonald's in particular, like I mentioned, the McCafe, right? Where the idea is, well, if we're going to do something that's like a cafe, we have to do something a little more upscale. Mm-hmm. So we have to get away from the reds and the yellows, like the
statue of Ronald McDonald,
right, and the clown, because that looks very childish. So what happens is, unfortunately, they go the full pendulum swing to the other side, which is like now it looks like a tax accountant's.
Right. No, I think that they're going to have yoga mats inside.
Right. And it's like, but is that really what you're about? Is that really what you think people are coming here for?
Right.
Like, I understand wanting it to look a little more like a Starbucks, maybe, in that, because if you're going to have cafe.
No, and things evolve. I get it.
But you're not a serious brand, quote unquote.
Right.
To do that. But that's where it comes from. It's like, well, we want to bring in, we're losing market share. That's always this always stems from, we're losing market share. Nobody ever makes a change like this by saying, since we're number one and we've just gotten business year over year increases, we're going to change everything. It always starts with market share loss. And then it's like, we found that most consumers, aren't looking to us as a fast food chain. They're looking at us as, a place for a meal of convenience. And it's like, okay, so fast food with a fancier name.
Right.
And then it becomes, now we have salads. So, we can't have a clown where we have salads, And so now it just...
not a clown
and a salad. I mean, would you take a salad joint seriously if it came with the Grimace?
Right.
And so it just kind of snowballs from there. And then it becomes one of those things where, they have focus groups upon focus groups of the people that they're trying to either retain or bring in. And a lot of times what winds up happening is they make these changes to gain that new consumer at the cost of the consumer that they already have.
Right.
Because you're trying to go after these people who are not they're not your customers now. And chances are you put a new face on the thing, they're still not going to be your customer. But now you've changed your entire look and you risk alienating the customers that do love your product.
I'm really upset over the fact that McDonald's doesn't have birthdays anymore.
They don't have playgrounds.
I had my birthday 3 times at McDonald's.
I had a shit ton of them at the one by Tropical Park.
Yeah, I had them the one by Bird Road and 112.
Yeah. With that metal slide because we live on the equator, was always burning hot.
Do you remember their cake?
Yeah, it was like it was a sheet cake.
It was a sheet cake with the sugar.
It was like, and then they had the characters were made of sugar.
Yes.
They always had Ronald, the Fry Guys, and I think Birdie, the early bird. And I feel
that those are like the lost McDonald's characters.
I can't remember what the cake actually tasted like. I know it was like a vanilla cake, but I couldn't tell you what it tastes like.
Like nobody talks about the fry people.
The fry guys. Yeah. Well, I guess now they'd be fry people.
Right. Or the birdie.
Yeah, birdie.
And then then there's our the anti-hero Grimace.
The Grimace. I love Grimace.
Grimace is amazing. Like there should be like a Grimace Appreciation, I don't know, podcast.
Everything has a day. We should have Grimace Day.
Yeah, we should have Grimace Appreciation Day.
And then there was Mayor McCheese and the Hamburglar.
No, we're getting rid of these characters because now we're a gray box.
Right. We want to be so adult that now we don't even want children here.
Right. You're right. They're not catered towards children anymore.
But I think also a big part of that was, the whole health issue, right? Where it's like, oh, you're not a healthy option. You're appealing to children with the Happy Meals and with the characters. And I think that's, to your point of how things change, there was that pendulum swing of like, well, now we all have to be very healthy, like cuando esta mujer made Cookie Monster start eating vegetables.
No. So now he's just a monster.
Yeah, it's like, at the end of the day, guys, kids have no disposable income. So if you're making it appealing to kids, that's fantastic. But a kid doesn't go out and earn a living. So the parents are still the ones that have to take them.
I guess it's what you say. It's true. It's like the focus group upon focus group of the customer they think they want. Right. And again, yeah, I understand that things evolve and you're not going to have the same looking McDonald's aesthetic from the 80s now. But I just feel that they went, as you said, the pendulum swings like a complete 180 because they're not a bistro. And they never will be.
Right. You can think you're going to be whatever you're going to be, but you're not.
I mean, you could open up a McDonald's at the Biltmore Hotel. It's not going to be a fancy
McDonald's.
restaurant.
You're still McDonald's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but again, I don't understand the aesthetic. Like,
It's just boring. It's boring
It's
and it doesn't
depressing.
match. And it doesn't match.
it's depressing because they literally are a great box.
Yeah.
Like, I look at them and I'm
Y
like,
vi que está igual.
I'm like, okay, can they put like an awning, like a yellow awning, like yellow
trim.
stick, like on a trim, like I don't know, do something with the golden arch, like I don't know, just not.
There has to be a way to fix
not
this.
a great box.
Yeah. There has to be a way to fix
It's
this.
just a great box.
Yeah.
So whatever. Yeah, McDonald's.
Well, speaking of
I
McDonald's.
love McDonald's. At the end of the day, I love. You know what?
Oh, listen. I'm the
I
first
love,
one.
I love McDonald's. I don't care what anybody says. I know it's unhealthy. I don't eat McDonald's every day. I don't even eat McDonald's once a month. But
I love me a Big Mac.
give me a double cheeseburger with bacon with extra onions, no pickles. Oh my God! Like
I'm here for it.
I'm totally for that. So
Yeah,
it's a
sign
soda
me
times.
up.
McDonald's has made us thirsty.
I was going to say, speaking of McDonald's, it's soda time. So do you want to go first?
I will go first. I'm giving a flat soda this week.
Oh, okay. Why?
So here in Miami, there's a video that went viral. I don't know if it's gone viral throughout the country, but there's a video that went viral a few days ago here in Miami
yes.
of these people that had what type of party was it?
I don't even know.
I think it was like, was it a batch? They had a party.
It was midweek.
They had a party on a boat.
On a yacht.
And it was like a nice party. And there was an event planner and and all that.
Todo
and
hierro.
whatever. So they had in the bow of the ship, they had it decorated with like dozens, if not hundreds, of balloons.
Yeah, like arches. And,
Right. So when the party was over, they all got in the bow of the ship and they started popping the balloons and throwing the pop balloons into the bay. Like a pobre manatee comes and eats it,
and dies.
Chokes on a balloon.
Right.
The last thing we needed. Where's Louis Aguirre when you need him?
Well, he was on top of this one.
Okay, good. I
He
wouldn't
was.
expect anything less from our friend Louis. And somebody taped them. And I don't know if they put it on Facebook. They put it somewhere that it went viral.
That's why I said Louis, because it started off on 10. On Channel 10.
Channel 10?
Channel 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
I don't know who videotaped it.
Right, but I think they probably put it on social media,
Right, and
then
then
Channel 10 or
ran with
whatever news source got a hold of it, right? So then when the video went viral, they were able to track the people down. They arrested one of them, right?
Yep.
And the other, like the event planner, was fined.
Yeah, like,
the the yacht owner was fined.
It's like $25,000 in
like
fines.
it's like a very serious offense.
Yep.
But it's like, you know what? I know a lot of times people plead law as ignorance insofar that it's like, oh, I didn't know there was an ordinance against that. I didn't know that there was a law. Okay, let's say you really don't know that there's an ordinance or a criminal statute.
But did you think it was okay?
Right. Did you think that throwing not one balloon, one balloon fell over. No.
Right. Esto no fue por accidente.
100 balloons, like deflated balloons in the bay. Do you think that was okay? Like, I mean, these are the things that people do that it's like, do you think that like nobody was going to notice this? Because they did this at the Coconut Grove Marina.
Oh yeah,
which is super packed.
en pleno día.
In the middle of the day.
Right.
So it's like, did you think nobody was going to notice that you were throwing away all these balloons in front of everyone?
Right. Because it's not like, oh shit, se me cayó uno.
Right. So you know what? A flat soda to them.
To all of them.
To all of them.
And then dunk them in the bay.
With the balloons.
Yes. So I'm going to give a non-flat soda. I'm going to give a carbonated soda to a local organization that is called Lotus House.
Oh, Lotus House, yes.
You're
I'm
aware
familiar
of them?
with them, yes.
So essentially they are a woman's shelter.
I've actually volunteered for Lotus House.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, cool. So they are a women's shelter that started in 2006. Just started in an old Overtown apartment building with 34 beds. And as of today, it has grown into Lotus Village, which is a 5-story complex with 500 beds for women and children. They've just announced the nonprofit Lotus Endowment Fund, which has plans for another expansion with the construction of another 5-story kids village focused on education and mental health. And so, this is a place where, women who are either experiencing homelessness or are escaping an abusive situation can...
the times that I volunteered there, I volunteered there probably like 3 or 4 times. This was years ago. There would be women beat up, battered at the doorstep of Lotus House waiting for it to open.
Yeah.
because they made an escape in the night or whatever, and that's where they ran to, and they would literally be outside waiting for them to open. So they do God's work.
Yeah,
because you know. I didn't realize they had grown so much to what you're talking about. Because when I volunteered with them, again, it was many years ago, they were a much smaller entity.
And really, if they started in 2006, they've only been around for a handful of years, really, a little over a decade.
Yeah.
And they've grown so much. And so, you know, I think, again, there's a lot of bad out there in the world. But when you see organizations like this that have really just made it their mission, like you said, to do God's work.
Let's send them a lifetime supply of soda.
They should. You know what?
We were soda makers.
If any of you out there are soda makers and want to send them a lifetime supply of soda, then I think they should. That's probably tax deductible too.
Yeah. No, they're great. They really are. They really are. That's a good one. We gave us a flat one and a real one.
And a carbonated
one. So, wow.
All right.
That was this week, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. That was just tired. I'm tired.
I know. We went on the gamut.
Yes. I'm ready for a vacation. But even if we take a vacation, we're not taking a vacation from the podcast.
We need to figure that out, actually.
Right, but we'll talk about that later. We'll be like live from
the middle of the Caribbean.
From the middle of the Caribbean. We may be taking a cruise live from the Royal Caribbean, you know.
From Coca-Cola.
You know, whatever of the seas is Pero Let Me Tell You. On this edition of Pero Let Me Tell You, it's the Royal Caribbean dancers. Joining us also is the Royal Caribbean ice sculptor.
No, I like the idea of us just having the sculpture.
The sculptor. Also joining us today
Chano.
of this special edition of Pero Let Me Tell You, live in the middle of the Caribbean.
You know, since it's a ship, we'll have Chano.
Yeah, so we'll figure that out. But yeah, when we go on vacation, we don't go on vacation of the podcast.
Right, yeah.
We only go on vacation of the podcast, you know.
End of year. Beginning of
year. So anyway, so you're stuck with us, people. We hope you listened, laughed, and learned. As always, remember to grab your pastelito, your croqueta, and your cafecito. And again, thank you for joining us. That was episode 203. Yep. Have a great weekend, everybody.
All right, cuídense. Bye. Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darian Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lomlaplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes.